But disaffected pastors feel similarly trapped, that they don't have anywhere to go. And sometimes I wonder whether the only thing that's holding the ELCA together is the Board of Pensions. And of course, what will happen is that disaffected members will simply leave. This is what we're not being able to measure right now, or melt into inactivity. That's worse. That's worse. I don't know how to handicap what's going on in the LCMS. We'll find out with the election for the new president. But the similar sorts of things are sort of factors are playing. It's a different context, but similar factors are working, I think, within the LCMS. What is ahead is a radical restructuring of both denominations, but especially the ELCA. And money will cause this to happen. We're seeing this already. How many rounds of budget cuts can they observe at Higgins Road? How many rounds of budget cutting? I've yet to see a synod that's not making major cuts in their budget. And the money issues will cause the collapse of these corporatized denominations. And the UCC, the Episcopalians, the Presbyterians, they've all gone through this. And they were much richer. In other words, it's been padded in some of those denominations because they had large trust funds. They had large endowments. We don't have that kind of endowment. It's going to be brutal. It is brutal right now, and it's going to be brutal. And I don't want to.
I was just going to ask if you had any figures on the budget cuts. I know they started 2010 with about $63 million as their intended budget.
I don't know. I haven't looked at that. But all I'm going to say is that reorganization is coming, one way or another. We will either jump on that bandwagon or forced it, and I think.
Is this unprecedented? Is this the first time something so huge has happened?
The Depression was a different kind of version of this, but we didn't have the national structures. I mean, people don't understand, for example, that even 50 years ago, there were virtually no large national headquarters. A lot of these denominations were run out of the spare bedroom of the president of the denomination.
So this really is.
So we've got this structure that I'm not sure that we were able to maintain on the long run. I think any attempt to renew or restore the vision of American Lutheran denominationalism of the past 50 years is going to fail. In other words, we can't just rebuild what that corporatized, bureaucratized national Lutheranism of the past 50 years. We don't have the resources. Okay? And so this is where I come back to that idea of the tyranny of the recent past. What a lot of people are going to try to do is just simply, in terms of reorganization, just to hang on to the models that we've got. But there are models that only really go back 40 or 50 years. All right? What I'm saying is, for 250 years, American Lutheranism did pretty well and grew rather nicely with a very different model of organization. Okay, and so I think this is. I think if we're going to do something, this is going to be a radical shift to the past. Okay. Here is my modest proposal. I don't know if it will ever work, and I'm sure there are problems with it, and I will be very interested in your reaction to it. But I think that we should go back to a model that has of American Lutheranism that has worked very well for us for 250 or 300 years, which was a model of strong regional units with weak central authority. Devolve power back to synods or districts. Make them the primary element of loyalty and affiliation. Now, the other thing that happened in the sort of thing was the almost unanimous victory of what I will call geographical units. All right? In other words, if you look at the synods in the ELCA and the districts in the Missouri Synod, those synods and districts are almost, I think with only one exception, are geographical. Slovak, but I'm trying to think of anything. Is the English district still alive in? Okay, good, all right. They're all, now, that made sense when you had the franchise vision of, it was probably the most sense, right? When you had the franchise vision of American Lutheranism. But I don't think it really makes any sense. And we've had with communications and transportation and everything like that, we've had a revolution in how people relate to each other. Now, we have two other models of regional or synodical or district affiliation that are not geographic. One would be ethnic, right? And I don't think that's as much as I hang out with people who love the Augustana Synod, they're never going to rebuild that. All right, the ELC is never going to be rebuilt. Those are gone. Model of regional organization is affiliational. In other words, like-minded people gathering together in a synod. Right? What a concept and if you were going to devolve American or reorganize American Lutheranism, what about allowing the formation of affiliational synods or districts or conferences or whatever you want to call them, and allow them to be the primary loci of your loyalty? I mean, that's essentially what we have now in both denominations. We essentially have people's, like I say, maybe you can test this out with me.